My own daughter looked me in the eye and told me I was a senile old woman, that my $500,000 lottery win was just a figment of my fading mind. She didn't just steal my ticket, she tried to steal my sanity. But I knew what I held in my hand that day, and I knew there was one silent witness that could expose her cruel lies, a little security camera at the corner store. She was about to learn this old woman still had a few tricks. Before I begin my story, let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is. I just want to know I'm not alone in this. And if you feel moved by what you hear, consider subscribing. It helps more people become aware of the reality of elder abuse. Now let me tell you what really happened. I always told myself I didn't need much to be happy. A small garden, a cozy chair by the window, a hot cup of coffee in the morning. I clipped coupons. I watched every penny. I kept the same lace curtains in my kitchen for 15 years because they still let in the light. But when I scratched off that ticket, when those numbers matched up just right, I forgot how to breathe. $500,000. 500,000. I checked it 3 times. Then I checked it again. I even went back to the store just to be sure I hadn't made a mistake. And when the scanner flashed winner, with that little chime, my knees buckled. The clerk, a young man named Mateo, helped me to a seat. "You all right, ma'am?" he asked. I just nodded, hand trembling. "It's real," I whispered. "I think it's real." I could have screamed with joy, but all I did was cry. On the way home, I held that ticket like it was a newborn baby. I didn't tell anyone at the store what had happened. Not yet. I needed a minute to let it sink in. $500,000. My mind spun with possibilities. I could finally fix the roof. Maybe go see the Grand Canyon like I'd always dreamed. Maybe help Veronica with that down payment she kept talking about. My only daughter. She always had big plans, and now I could be part of making them happen. I remember sitting down in my kitchen that evening, the winning ticket tucked in the back of my Bible for safekeeping. I didn't even want to sign it yet. I needed to get my thoughts together, maybe talk to a lawyer. But before I did any of that, I picked up the phone and called Veronica. She didn't answer right away, so I left a message. I tried to sound calm, but my voice was shaking. "Baby, I have something to tell you. Call me when you get a chance. It's important." She called me back a few hours later, her voice tired and annoyed. "What's going on, Mama?" I smiled. "I won the lottery." There was silence on the line. "I'm serious, Veronica. $500,000. I have the ticket right here. I haven't signed it yet. I was going to wait until—" "Wait, you haven't signed it?" she cut in. Her tone changed, sharp and alert. "Where is it now?" "In my Bible on the counter," I said, still smiling. Can you believe it? I never thought I'd win anything in my life. She told me she'd come by the next morning. "You shouldn't tell anyone else yet," she warned. "People might try to take advantage." I thought she was being protective. I thought it meant she cared. She arrived early the next day, bringing me my favorite bagels from that place downtown. She kissed my cheek, looked through the mail, sat down across from me like nothing had changed. "Where's the ticket, Mama?" she asked, light as a feather. I pulled it from the Bible, held it in both hands like a sacred scroll, and showed her. She took a photo of it for safekeeping, she said. I didn't mind. She was my daughter. That night I went to bed feeling safer than I should have. I had locked my door shut. But I didn't hide the ticket again. I didn't even realize it was gone until the next afternoon. I searched everywhere. The kitchen. My room. The trash. I even looked under the fridge. Nothing. I called Veronica in a panic. "Mama, are you sure you didn't imagine it?" she asked. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "What do you mean, imagine it?" "You saw it. You've been tired lately. Stressed. You said the roof's been leaking. Maybe you saw the wrong numbers. Maybe it wasn't what you thought." I stood there, phone to my ear, my whole body trembling. "I showed you the ticket. You took a picture of it. Veronica, I'm not." "Mama, listen," she said, her voice dropping to a soothing coo. "I think maybe you need to go talk to someone, just to make sure everything's okay. You've been forgetting things lately. You told me the mail didn't come yesterday, but I saw it in the box." My breath caught in my throat. "You think I made it up?" "I'm just saying maybe you got confused. I don't want to see you get hurt or embarrassed if you try to cash in a fake ticket." She hung up before I could reply. That night I didn't sleep. I just sat on the edge of my bed, the Bible still open on the counter where I thought the ticket had been. I checked every page, every pocket, every drawer. Gone. The next morning Veronica showed up again. "I made you an appointment," she said, handing me a card. "Dr. Minton. He's good with memory stuff. Early signs of dementia, that kind of thing." I stared at the card like it was written in a language I didn't know. "You think I'm losing my mind?" I asked quietly. She smiled, all soft and sugar. "I just want you to be okay." She even drove me to the clinic. Waited while they ran the test. I felt like a child. Like I had no control over anything anymore. She told the nurses I was having episodes. She whispered to the doctor when she thought I couldn't hear. By the time we got home, I felt like a ghost in my own body. I called the lottery office the next day. I didn't say my name. I just asked if anyone had claimed a $500,000 prize from my neighborhood in the last few days. "Yes, ma'am," the woman said cheerfully. "It's already been processed." I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. I just sat in my kitchen staring at the lace curtains I'd had for 15 years. I wasn't crazy. He took it. And now I had no proof. I tore apart the whole house that morning. Every drawer, every crevice. I even checked the trash bin twice. The winning ticket I had tucked so carefully under the sugar tin was gone. At first I thought I was losing my mind. Maybe I'd moved it and forgot. Maybe it slipped behind the counter or stuck to the back of a receipt. I got down on my hands and knees, crawling across the kitchen floor with a flashlight. My hands trembled, not from age but from that sick feeling that something was wrong. When Veronica walked in later that day with her usual sweet voice, "Hey mama, how you feeling?" I felt something snap. "I can't find it," I said. "The ticket. It's gone." She froze just for a second, and then her face softened into something that looked like pity. "Oh mama, what ticket?" "You know which one. The lottery ticket. The winning one. I showed it to you, remember?" Veronica came closer, lowering her voice like she was comforting a child. "Mama, are you sure you didn't just dream it?" My heart stopped. I stared at her, blinking fast. "No," I said firmly. "I bought it at Emerson's Market. I picked the numbers myself. I had it right here." She gently took my arm and led me to the couch as if I were too frail to stand on my own. "Mama, you've been under a lot of stress lately. Maybe it felt real, but..." Her voice was a knife wrapped in velvet. "I showed it to you," I said louder now. "You said you'd help me keep it safe." She shook her head slowly. "Mama, you said you thought you won, but you couldn't find the ticket then either." That wasn't true. I remember it clearly, her standing right next to me in the kitchen, her eyes wide when I showed her the winning numbers. She said we should wait before signing it in case someone came knocking. I'd nodded. I was naive. And now, just 2 days later, she was acting like it never happened. "Don't you remember?" I asked again, almost pleading. But her voice took on that condescending tone I hated. "Mama, you've had little lapses lately. It's okay. It happens. Maybe this is one of those times." And just like that, my daughter looked me in the face and told me I was confused, imagining things. At first, I thought maybe I really was mistaken. I tried to convince myself maybe I'd gotten the numbers wrong, or maybe the ticket got thrown out accidentally. I even searched the garage, thinking maybe I'd hidden it somewhere safe. But 2 days later, Veronica posted photos online of her sitting behind the wheel of a brand new BMW. I didn't say anything. 3 days after that, she showed up with a shopping bag full of designer clothes. Labels I'd only ever seen on the Home Shopping Network. I asked where the money came from. She smiled. "I've been saving, Mama." But she hadn't been working in months. The unease settled in my chest like concrete. Then came the visits from her friends, laughing too loud in the driveway, throwing around words like spa day and honeymoon plans as if money fell from trees. She even invited a real estate agent over. "We're thinking of something in Buckhead," I overheard her whisper. I stood in the hallway and listened. They were talking about million-dollar homes like they were just ordering lunch. The next week she came over with brochures for a memory clinic. "I just want to be sure you're okay," she said, setting them on my kitchen table. "You've been forgetting things, Mama. It might be time to get some clarity." "I'll go with you." I pushed the brochures away. "You think I'm crazy?" She smiled. "No, just concerned." I wanted to scream, but I couldn't, because part of me still wanted to believe my child wouldn't lie, that she wouldn't do this, that she wouldn't steal from her own mother, then try to convince the world I was losing my mind. But deep down I knew. I began to replay every moment. Her quick suggestion not to sign the ticket yet. Her visit the next morning when I wasn't home. The back door slightly ajar. The way she avoided eye contact when I mentioned the missing ticket. Her new purse. The sudden spa appointments. And the way her voice changed when I started asking questions. Always calm, always sweet, always just a bit patronizing. She was gaslighting me. Plain and simple. And the worst part? She was good at it. Veronica was always clever. As a girl, she could lie with a straight face and charm the truth out of any teacher. But I never thought she'd use those gifts on me. I called my friend Esther one night in tears. She's making me feel like I'm crazy. Esther didn't know what to say. You know your mind, Agnes, she finally said. If you say you won, then you did. But that wasn't enough. Not anymore. I started keeping notes. Quietly in a little spiral notebook. Every date, every comment, every strange coincidence. I wanted to hold on to my truth even if no one believed me. One night, as Veronica left with another expensive bag in hand, I peeked through the window and saw her slide into that new car again. And I made a decision. If she was going to treat me like I was crazy, fine. Let her think it. Let her talk. Let her gloat. Because deep inside I knew what I needed to do. I needed proof. And I knew exactly where to get it. It started with the Chanel sunglasses. Not knockoffs either. Real ones straight from the boutique in Atlanta. Veronica wore them like a crown, strolling into my house with her keys swinging from a new Gucci handbag and a smirk that barely tried to hide. Then came the Lexus. A pearl white SUV with leather seats and tinted windows that made her look like she was running a real estate empire. Lease deal, she said when I asked about it. They're practically giving them away these days. I nodded like I believed her. But my hands trembled behind my back. The audacity, it was almost artful. While I sat at home counting quarters to buy groceries, my daughter paraded through town like she'd won the lottery. But she had. With my ticket. My luck. My miracle. She spent it like it would never run out. Weekend getaways. A new set of teeth from some high-end dental spa. Facials. Designer heels. I overheard her telling her friend she was going to Paris for inspiration. Inspiration for what? Lies. She was drunk on it, on the money, the attention, the power. And the more she indulged, the more confident she became that I wouldn't do anything about it. Because she'd already planted the seed. Mama's been confused lately, she whispered to our neighbor Margie. I'm just keeping an eye on her, poor thing. She told the church deacon I'd called her at midnight to say I was lost in my own home. She started showing up unannounced. Straightening things in my living room. Checking the fridge. Peeking in the medicine cabinet. I'm just trying to help you stay organized, she'd say with that rehearsed little laugh. You know, you get a little overwhelmed sometimes. I wrote everything down. One night she came with a man in scrubs. A wellness nurse she claimed was doing home assessments for seniors. I didn't let him pass the door. She didn't like that. The next morning I found a stack of paperwork in my mailbox. Forms for a voluntary cognitive assessment at a memory clinic downtown. You're not yourself lately, Veronica said, sitting across from me, legs crossed like a therapist. Don't you think it'd be good to get some answers? I stared at her, wondering how she kept a straight face. Answers to what? I asked. To how my own daughter stole my lottery winnings? Her face didn't change. Not a twitch. Mama, she sighed like I'd embarrassed her. You need help. And just like that she booked the appointment without asking. I told myself I'd skip it. But the fear crept in. What if she did find a way to get me declared incompetent? What if the next step was power of attorney and I'd lose my house too? So I went. To the clinic with the mint-colored walls and piped-in jazz music. I sat under the fluorescent lights while a young man barely out of college asked me what year it was, who the president was, and to remember the name of a fake street dog named Buttons. I passed every test. But Veronica wasn't satisfied. I still think we need a second opinion, she told the doctor, ignoring me like I wasn't even in the room. I saw something shift in his face. A flicker of discomfort. Later he walked me to the elevator and whispered, "You're sharper than most people I know. If she pushes for more tests, call me." I wrote his name down too. At home things got worse. Veronica started babysitting me, popping in every few hours, pretending to fluff the pillows but really checking my mail. She started leaving brochures about assisted living on my nightstand. She told me she was worried about liability if I fell. But I wasn't falling. I was watching. And waiting. Then one night while watching the local news, I saw something that lit a fire in me. A segment about a woman who recovered her lost lottery winnings thanks to store surveillance footage. I sat straight up. The ticket. The one I bought from Emerson's Market. I remembered the clerk, Nina. Short hair, always chewing gum, always asking about my crossword puzzles. If they had footage, maybe there was proof. Proof that I bought the ticket. Proof that I was there. The next morning, I walked into Emerson's wearing my Sunday shoes. Nina was behind the counter. "Do y'all keep video from the registers?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. She looked confused. "For how long?" I told her it was about a ticket I bought last week. The big one. Her eyes widened. "That was you." I nodded. She leaned in and whispered, "A woman came in to cash it. Said it was hers. But you know what's funny? She didn't even know which machine it came from. Just handed it over like she was guessing." I swallowed hard. "Can you get the tape?" I asked. She hesitated. "I'm not supposed to, but you want me to talk to my manager?" I nodded. 2 days later I had the footage. It showed everything. Me walking up to the counter smiling. Me handing her the winning ticket. The scanner beep confirming it. Nina smiling and circling the number. Me placing it gently in my purse. Clear as day. No confusion. No dementia. Just a woman who'd won, and didn't know she was standing next to a thief. I took that footage and held it close. Not just for proof. For power. Because I wasn't crazy. I wasn't confused. And I wasn't done. I didn't sleep the night I got the footage. Not because I was anxious. No. Because I finally felt awake. For weeks I'd been walking around in a fog of humiliation, second-guessing myself every time Veronica looked at me with those eyes. Those patronizing, pitying eyes that made me feel small. She'd convinced everyone I was losing it. And maybe for a second I believed it too. But now I had the truth. That little USB drive Nina gave me felt like a lifeline. I watched the clip over and over again on my old laptop until the battery died. Each time I paused on my smile. That moment when she scanned the ticket and my mouth dropped open, and I actually touched my chest like I couldn't believe it. That was me. Radiating pure joy. And no one could take that away from me. Veronica didn't notice at first. She was too busy flaunting her new life, making little videos of herself sipping champagne in rented hotel rooms with captions like, "Work hard, play harder." I even heard she was talking about launching her own skincare brand. For what, I don't know. Snake oil and stolen money? I wasn't sure what to do with the footage at first. I didn't have a lawyer. Hell, I hadn't seen the inside of a courtroom since jury duty in 1985. But something deep inside me, something old and quiet and mine, said, "Go slow. Go smart." So I went to the community center where Miss Delia, God bless her, ran free legal advice clinics on Thursdays. She was a retired paralegal with a raspy voice and a notebook full of names. After I explained my situation and showed her the footage, she let out a low whistle and said, "Oh honey, she played the wrong one." She referred me to a legal aid lawyer named Evan Sang. Young, soft-spoken, with kind eyes and an expression that said, "I've seen worse, but this is close." He watched the footage twice, then sat back and said, "This is more than enough to open a civil case. Possibly even criminal if we push it." I asked, "Will she go to jail?" He didn't promise anything. Lawyers never do. But he said this much: "She'll face consequences. And you'll get your name back." That last part mattered more to me than the money. My name. My truth. My dignity. We filed quietly. Evan told me not to confront her, not yet. Let her keep thinking she won. Let her dig herself deeper. He said the court would subpoena the lottery office, the surveillance footage and the transaction records tied to the claim. Meanwhile, I kept my distance. Until she called me one afternoon chirping, "Hey mama, I'm thinking of getting us both tickets to the spa in Blue Ridge. You'd love it there. They have cucumber water and everything." I almost laughed. The audacity never stopped flowing with her. She was offering me a spa day with my own money. But I played along. "Oh, that sounds lovely," I said. "You know, I could use a little pampering after all that confusion I've had." She paused. Just long enough to hear the ice cracking. Then the phone went silent. The next week the court papers were served. Evan told me she showed up to his office the next day red-faced and furious, screaming about elder abuse and slander. "She said you were mentally unstable," he said, "and that the footage was fake." I just blinked. Fake? She really thought she could lie her way out of video proof. That's when I knew. Veronica didn't just steal from me, she lived in her lies now. They were her only furniture. The court date was set. I wore my navy dress, the one I'd saved for special occasions, and brought every note I'd written, every date I'd logged, every detail she'd overlooked. Veronica showed up wearing white like she was the victim in a soap opera. Even cried a little during her statement. Told the judge I had spirals, and that she was just trying to protect her mother from financial predators. But then we played the footage. Silence. It played once. Then the judge asked for it again. There I was. Right on screen. Smiling. Stable. Sane. And holding the exact same lottery ticket she cashed in. When it ended, the judge turned to Veronica and asked, "Do you have any explanation for this?" She opened her mouth. Closed it. And for the first time since all this began, she looked small. Not defeated. Just seen. The ruling came down faster than I expected. Restitution. Full recovery of remaining funds. Seizure of assets purchased with the winnings. Potential fraud charges pending further review by the district attorney. She didn't speak to me afterward. She just stormed past, her heels clicking like gunshots on the tile. But I stood there, still as stone, heart thudding in my chest. Not with victory but with relief. Not because I won the money back. Because I wasn't crazy. Because I knew what had happened. And finally, so did everyone else. I didn't gloat. It would have been easy. To post the footage online. To call every cousin and auntie who'd believed Veronica's lies and rub the truth in their faces. But I didn't. I just went home, closed the door, and let myself cry. I cried not for the money or even the pain of being humiliated in public. I cried for the years I had loved someone who would rather see me institutionalized than admit they were wrong. I cried because my only daughter saw me not as her mother, but as a burden in the way of her fantasy life. The sheriff's deputy came with a moving company 3 days after the ruling. He knocked politely, read out the order, and told Veronica she had 48 hours to vacate the condo she'd bought in Buckhead. Her sports car was towed not long after. The Rolex, the designer handbags, tagged for auction. I didn't attend the auction. I didn't want to see vultures circling my pain. But I did keep one thing. A little glass dish from her kitchen. One I had given her back in 2009 as a housewarming gift. It was cracked now, chipped at the edge. But it was mine. I set it on my dresser and dropped in the loose change I still liked to collect. Some folks called me friends who'd disappeared when things got messy. They all had the same line, we didn't know what to believe. I didn't hold it against them. But I didn't invite them back into my life either. Veronica's friends faded too. They always do when the money dries up. The worst part was that she tried to fight back. She filed a counterclaim, something about undue stress and emotional damages. But the judge saw through it. Every word was performative, hollow. Like she was auditioning for sympathy, but forgot to bring the truth with her. My lawyer shut it down in one hearing. She walked out red-faced again. Then came the final hearing when the judge authorized the release of the recovered funds to me. After fees, I had just over $312,000 deposited into my account. And you know what I did? I opened a new one. In my name only. I left the old account open just to watch the overdrafts pile up. Little echoes of her recklessness trailing behind like dust. And then I made a list. Not of things to buy. Not revenge ideas. Just dreams. Silly small ones. I wrote. Take a riverboat cruise down the Mississippi. Eat real gumbo in New Orleans. Visit every city I couldn't afford to see in my 20s. Buy a small sunny house near Savannah with a screened-in porch. Get a second-hand piano. Play the hymns Mama taught me. And I did all of them. My sister Verna and I boarded that cruise like queens. We laughed till our cheeks hurt. I wore my best scarf and drank sweet tea while watching the sun set over the river. In New Orleans, I danced to street jazz with a stranger who smelled like aftershave and pipe smoke. I let him spin me around like I was 25. I found a house with yellow shutters and creaky floors and a mailbox that needed paint. It was perfect. On my porch, I'm not a victim. I'm not a widow. I'm not Mama, or Granny, or a confused old lady. I'm Agnes. Whole, healed, and finally happy. But that doesn't mean the wound isn't there. Sometimes I stare at the box of court papers under my bed and wonder how it ever came to that. Sometimes I catch myself almost texting Veronica when I see something she'd like. But then I remember her saying, Mama, are you sure you even bought a ticket? You're always forgetting things lately. And it fades. Love doesn't die easy. But trust? Trust can be murdered. And she did that with both hands. Still, in the quiet of my new life, I don't hate her. I feel sorry. Because when everything was stripped away, money, lies, reputation, she didn't have a single soul left who would fight for her. Not even me. And that's the saddest thing I've ever known. I didn't hear from Veronica for 5 months. No texts. No calls. Just silence. I figured that was that. After the court rulings, the asset seizures, the judgment entered in my favor. I thought she'd disappear completely. But one rainy afternoon in late September, a letter showed up at my new place in Savannah. It was postmarked from a halfway house in Macon. The envelope had no return address, just her shaky handwriting, Agnes Thornton, scrawled across the front like she wasn't sure if she had the right to call me Mom anymore. Inside was a single sheet of lined notebook paper, torn at the edge. No greeting. No apology. Just 5 sentences. I didn't mean for it to go so far. I just wanted a better life. You always made it look easy. I'm sorry I embarrassed you. I hope you're happy now. That was it. No signature. No love, Veronica. No mention of the $200,000 she blew through. Just guilt scribbled like graffiti. I folded the letter and put it in the bottom drawer of my dresser, underneath a stack of old church bulletins and my mother's lace gloves. Not because I wanted to remember her, but because I didn't want to forget how far I'd come. There's something about surviving a betrayal like that changes the way you look at everything. The way you answer the phone. The way you hear the word daughter. It doesn't sound sweet anymore. It sounds fragile. My friends tried to lift my spirits. They'd say things like, "You won," or "She got what she deserved." But justice doesn't heal everything. Especially when the person who hurt you was someone you once rocked to sleep and wiped tears from. I think what hurt the most wasn't the money. It was that she didn't think I'd fight back. She thought I'd just crumble under the gaslighting. That I'd doubt my own mind. That I'd shrink away like a scared old woman, too afraid to confront her. And for a while I did. But you'd be surprised how steady your hands become when you're standing in a courtroom staring down the person you raised and realizing, this isn't your baby anymore. This is someone else entirely. I used some of the money to set up a small legal aid donation fund in Atlanta. Quietly. No press release. No plaque with my name. Just a seed planted in the hope that another woman like me who gets told she's confused or forgetful has someone in her corner when the time comes. Verna visits every Sunday. We sit on the porch drinking lemonade and watching the neighborhood kids ride bikes. She brings me little things from her garden. Tomatoes, rosemary, fresh okra. Sometimes she jokes about buying me a lottery ticket just to see what happens. I always laugh, but I never buy them anymore. I've had my miracle. It just didn't come wrapped in joy the way I thought it would. It came in the form of a reckoning. There are still nights I stare out at the street and wonder if Veronica's walking past somewhere, too ashamed to knock. Maybe she's changed. Maybe she hasn't. I don't check the mail as often anymore. But I still keep the receipt from the winning ticket. It's tucked behind a framed photo of my husband and me on our anniversary in 1984. Every now and then I pull it out and look at the date. March 15th. The day my life turned upside down, and right side up all at once. You know what's funny? When I went back to that store months later to thank the clerk, he didn't even remember me. Said, "We sell hundreds of tickets a day, ma'am." But I remembered him. I remembered the smile on my face. The way I clutched that ticket like it was sacred. The way I floated out of that store thinking, this is going to change everything. And it did. Just not the way I expected. People think justice is loud. That it's courtroom gavel bangs and breaking news headlines. But real justice? It's quiet. It's when you can sleep at night. When your name is yours again. When you pour your coffee in the morning and don't flinch when the phone rings. That's what I have now. Peace. And peace, I've learned, is not the absence of pain. It's the presence of self. If I could speak to the women listening to my story, I'd say this. Don't let them convince you your memory's broken when it's their integrity that's gone. Don't let the people you love twist that love into a leash. Don't let betrayal become your identity. Because even when they steal what's yours, even when they try to call you crazy, what's true will always leave a trail. In my case, it was a crumpled security tape. In yours, it might be something else. But never stop trusting the voice inside you. It took me nearly 70 years to finally listen to mine. And now that I have